When I walked into her office that afternoon, I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for my wife. The woman I'd spent 7 years building a life with. The woman who once said she couldn't sleep unless my arm was around her. But as I opened that glass door, everything I knew about love, loyalty, and trust collapsed in one single image. She was on her boss's lap, not sitting casually or playfully. No, her hands were tangled in his hair, and his were on her waist, pulling her closer. For a second, I thought maybe my eyes were lying. Maybe it wasn't her. But the sound of her laughter, the perfume I bought her on our 5th anniversary, and the way she froze when she saw me, confirmed everything. "Daniel, wait!" she stammered, scrambling off him like a guilty teenager. I didn't wait. I didn't shout, didn't throw things, didn't ask why, because I already knew why. Somewhere along the way, the woman who promised me forever had decided she was bored of ordinary love. As I walked out of that building, something inside me shifted. The heartbreak was there, yes, but it was quiet, cold, methodical. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. That night, she came home late. Her makeup wiped away, her eyes red. She started with tears, then apologies, then excuses. "It just happened," she said. "You've been distant lately." Funny. I'd been distant because I was working 2 jobs to pay for the house she wanted, the vacations she planned, the life she bragged about to her friends. She tried to touch my hand, pulled it away. "Please, Daniel," she whispered. "Don't ruin us." The irony burned deeper than any insult. She had ruined us, but now I was the one expected to hold it together. That night, while she slept on the couch, I sat at my desk and began writing a list. Not of what I'd lost, but of what I'd take back. The next morning, I was calm. I made her coffee like always. She smiled, maybe thinking I'd forgiven her. But while she was in the shower, I logged into our joint account and moved every dollar I had earned into a new one, under my name. By the time she came downstairs, I was already dressed for work. "You're leaving early," she said softly. "Yeah," I replied. "Got a lot to handle today." And I did. I called the bank, canceled her car insurance, and froze her credit card. Every subscription, every auto payment linked to my income gone. By noon, she was calling me nonstop. "Daniel, what's happening?" My card got declined. I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded her the lease papers with her name removed. The house wasn't hers. I had paid every cent of the mortgage. By evening, her tone had shifted from confusion to panic. "Can we talk? Please." I texted back one line. "You were on your boss's lap. I'm done talking." That night, I packed a small bag. Just clothes, documents, my laptop. I didn't want revenge in the form of chaos. I wanted precision. The kind that makes them remember exactly what they destroyed. When she came home, her mascara was smudged, and she looked smaller somehow. "I made a mistake," she said, voice trembling. I stood up slowly, met her eyes, and said, "No, Emma, you made a choice." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, almost whispering, "Where will you go?" "Somewhere I'm respected," I said, walking past her. Her hand brushed my arm, desperate. "Don't throw us away like this." I stopped at the door. "You already did." Then I walked out, and for the first time in years, I felt weightless. I moved into a small apartment that night. 1 bedroom, cracked walls, faint smell of old paint. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I slept without her for the first time in 7 years, and instead of loneliness, I felt something close to relief. The next few days were quiet. She called, texted, begged, then accused. "You can't just walk away like that, Daniel," she wrote once. "We're married. But the thing about marriage is it ends the moment one person stops honoring it." I wasn't walking away from vows. She had already burned them. By the end of the week, her boss, Thomas, the man whose lap she had chosen, called me. "Look, man," he began awkwardly. "This doesn't have to get ugly. Emma told me you're being dramatic." I almost laughed. "Ugly?" I said calmly. "Thomas, it already is. But don't worry, I'm not interested in drama. Just consequences." He hesitated, clearly nervous. "What do you mean?" You'll find out, I said and hung up. I didn't raise my voice, didn't threaten. I didn't have to. Some truths destroy people without a single word more. That evening, I sent an anonymous email to the company's HR department, screenshots of messages between Emma and Thomas that she'd foolishly backed up to our shared cloud, flirty texts during office hours, hotel bookings under company expense. I didn't add a single comment, just attached the evidence. By Monday, both their worlds started to crumble. She called me crying from a parking lot, saying they'd both been suspended pending investigation. Why would you do this? She screamed. Because, I replied evenly, you taught me that actions have consequences. The silence that followed was heavier than any insult. Over the next month, I rebuilt quietly. I focused on my work, started running again, reconnected with friends I'd lost to her controlling moods. I laughed more, slept better, even started cooking for myself. Badly at first, but with time, the food began to taste like independence. Emma tried to reach out one last time. She showed up at my apartment, thinner, tired, a shell of the confident woman she used to be. I lost everything, she said softly. My job, my reputation. Thomas won't even return my calls. I looked at her and saw not the woman I loved, but the stranger she'd become long before that day in the office. I didn't destroy you, I said quietly. You just finally met yourself. She started to cry, whispering apologies between sobs. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak, because closure isn't about forgiveness. It's about understanding you don't need it anymore. When she left, I stood by the window for a long time, watching her car disappear down the street. There was no satisfaction, no victory dance, just peace. A stillness that comes only after surviving the storm. A few weeks later, I got promoted. My boss said, "You've been laser-focused lately. Whatever changed, keep it that way." I smiled and thought, yeah, I will. One evening, while clearing old photos from my phone, I stumbled upon one of Emma and me at our wedding. We looked happy, unstoppable, naive. I didn't delete it, not because I missed her, but because it reminded me how far I'd come. People often think revenge means destroying someone else. But the real revenge, the kind that lasts, is rebuilding yourself so completely that the person who broke you becomes irrelevant. Months passed. I started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just coffee, laughter, small talk. But one night I met someone, Claire. She was kind, grounded, the opposite of chaos. When she asked what happened with my ex, I told her the truth. She betrayed me, I said, and I let it teach me who I'll never be again. Claire smiled. Then she did you a favor. Maybe she was right, because for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a victim of someone else's choices. I felt like a man who finally chose himself. The last message I ever got from Emma arrived months later. Said only, "I hope you're happy." I typed back, then paused for a long time before deleting my reply. Some words are better left unsent. I turned off my phone, opened the window, and let the evening air fill the room. Outside, the city lights flickered like quiet reminders that life goes on. And sometimes, losing everything is just another way of finding peace. And that's exactly what I found.